What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today, finally, I'm back reading some revenge stories. It's been a while, but my goodness, do I have two fantastic stories for you today. The first comes from NuclearRevenge, and it is so nuclear, you're gonna love it. Let's get straight into it. A mother's instigation, a daughter's completion. I have promised my late friend that I wouldn't share this story until at least a year after her death. That time has passed. And this is nothing short of beautiful. Cruel, but beautiful. I'm going to switch to first person POV. This is the story as my late friend told me. I was an only child to two loving parents. Mum had a difficult pregnancy and an even harder labour. It was so bad that the doctor advised that they never try again. Because he didn't want his wife to die, Dad got a vasectomy that was successful. I was sad that I didn't have any siblings, but I had a happy childhood until I was a young adult. When I was in the middle of college, Mum was diagnosed with stage 4 high-grade serous ovarian cancer. It's the most aggressive form of ovarian cancer, and Mum's older sister and Mum both died from it. We knew her odds weren't good. I don't know what Dad was thinking, I really don't, but he started an affair with his co-worker, a woman just a few years older than me. The co-worker started integrating herself into my and Mum's life. She'd go shopping for us, keep the house in order, help with homework, and even sit with Mum when Mum was going through chemo and Dad and I weren't there. And no, I had no clue at all. I just thought it was the co-worker being kind to a family going through hard times. Mum fought. She fought hard, but the odds just weren't in her favour. One day I was visiting her in hospice and we were playing chutes and ladders. Mum got real quiet and then she told me, "You do know your dad isn't planning to reverse his vasectomy, right?" I was surprised, wondering what she was talking about. "Yeah, I know," I said. "Why?" Mum just looked at me and said, "I think you'd best keep it in mind." We continued playing, and when I left for the night, I kissed her, and she said, "You'll be fine on your own." She died that night. I believe she knew she was going to die that night and didn't want to scare me. Once again, the co-worker was right by our side. She helped us plan the funeral, brought us food, helped out around the house, and slowly started moving her things in. It was like putting a frog in a pot of water and having the temperature raised. It was slow. It was gradual. A year or so later, she had completely moved herself in and was part of our lives. I don't remember what made me suspicious enough to start digging, but start digging I did. I learned the affair began shortly after Mum's diagnosis. I was sickened, furious, and saddened. I took out my cell phone, ready to confront Dad and co-worker with the knowledge, but something else struck me. See, during one of her visits, the co-worker mentioned to Mum and me that she wished to have children with her fiancé. Mum knew that the affair was going on, and she trusted me to spill the beans. But I wanted to twist the knife further. As a result, I decided to play the long game. It was a gamble, one that had a good chance of not paying off, but it was one I was willing to take. I kept my mouth shut. I watched as they courted, got engaged, and married 3 years later. I squealed with delight when they announced their engagement to me. I wore a proud smile on their wedding day, and I made a toast at the reception. I even took extra steps to hide test results from Dad's urologist in such a way that the co-worker couldn't find it, but Dad would. Believe me, I was internally screaming. I wanted the world to know the way they hurt Mum and me during her darkest hour. I got dangerously close several times, but I said nothing, knowing the payoff would be worth it. Time passed. We played happy family. I got married to my awesome husband and had children. My dad and co-worker played doting grandparents, but I knew from the pained look on the co-worker's face that she was bemoaning her empty nest. Just as I was beginning to give up hope, the day came. The co-worker and I had started the tradition of getting together for coffee shortly after Mum's death. We talk girl things, again as I internally screamed. Laugh, cry, love, live, that sort of thing. That day, the co-worker was sad and sullen. I could tell that she'd been crying. I asked what was wrong. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard why. She was struggling to get pregnant for years, but assumed it was stress from work. Then her periods started coming fewer and farther between. She decided to go to the doctor and find out why. It turned out she was entering perimenopause, and her chances of successfully getting pregnant had dwindled. The doctor told her, in essence, that her childbearing years were over. As I crooned sympathetic noises, the co-worker said, "It doesn't make sense. We tried so hard to have kids, but I wasn't able to get pregnant. I don't know why. It was then that I knew it was time. You mean Dad didn't tell you? I said. Didn't tell me what? She asked. I was fighting every chance to smile as I tried playing the "it's not my right to tell" and "I can't believe he didn't tell you" cards until she practically begged me. I should have won an Oscar for my performance. I told her about the vasectomy and that Dad had no intention of reversing it. You should have seen her. She completely deflated like a balloon. Her shoulders slumped, she bowed her head, and she sobbed in her hands. I wanted to rejoice. I wanted to rub her face in it. I knew though that would make me look like the bad guy. So I hugged her and rubbed her back, telling her that Dad was horrible for not telling her, that she deserved a different outcome and that he completely wasted her time. Again, I was fighting to not smile. When she left, I told her I would always be there for her, but I knew she wasn't going to be part of my life anymore. Why would she? I was the daughter of the man who betrayed her. Once she had left and I was alone, I wept with joy and relief that it paid off, but also deep sorrow that Mum hadn't been there to see it. That was the last time I saw or talked to the co-worker. A few weeks later, Dad called me in a fury. She had packed her bags and left, slapping him with divorce papers. She yelled at him for not being honest with her that he had a vasectomy that he had no intention of reversing, that he knew she wanted kids and that she had wasted all of her childbearing years and that he had left it to me to tell her. He then said, "How could you do that to us? We loved you." I said in a cold tone, "You and Mum did a good job teaching me how to keep secrets." I hung up and that was it. I never spoke to him again either. The last I heard, he and the co-worker were divorced and everyone shunned him because of him keeping the secret. I know I won't be joining Mum after I die. What I did was cruel. It was horrible. I should have done what Mum wanted and spilled the beans beforehand instead of wasting the co-worker's youth and childbearing years. Even if she could adopt, she'd probably die before her children were fully grown. Although, it's hard to have compassion and mercy for a woman who integrated herself into my dying mum's life as she was screwing my mum's husband. Wow, that was great. What a start to this episode. I've got to be honest with you. I actually think that in your mum's heart of hearts, I reckon that she actually would have wanted you to do what you ended up doing. I know she didn't explicitly say it, and I know she said, "It's in your hands now. You can tell them," or you can tell, the co-worker that your dad isn't being honest with her. But I think what you did was just so much sweeter. It is fair as well. Come on, it is. This co-worker is a horrible, horrible woman. She knows exactly what's going on. She knows that your mum is gonna die very soon, sadly. She's preying on that. And, your dad is equally as bad, if not worse. But them two together are terrible. And yeah, this woman doesn't deserve the satisfaction of having kids. It's simple as that. What I can't get over is your dad saying to you, "How could you do that to us? We loved you." So, sorry, he kept his vasectomy a secret for decades, but then blamed his daughter for eventually telling his new wife after all those years? Absolutely insane. Anyway, let's get into the second story of revenge. This one, to be honest, it's not as nuclear, but I think the payoff might be even better than that. Now moving on to our next story of revenge. This one comes from r/prorevenge. Fired from my job, but received a year's worth of pay and got my boss fired. This happened in the early 2010s before the advancement of technology in video editing and content creation. I was hired as a content creator for a university that wanted to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. The pay was low, roughly $2,200, and in those days, there were not that many video content creators around, and the process usually took a long time from start to finish. I was hired, and on my second day, the manager presented my KPI of 85 3 to 10 minute videos in 52 weeks, which was impossible for a one-man team in those days. I mean, even now, that would be extremely hard. Wow. This meant that I had to do the scripting, producing, casting talents, shooting videos, composing music. They were too cheap to pay for a royalty-free music subscription, and editing, all of which I had to use my own equipment and software because their cameras and computers were so old, they simply couldn't handle the strain of even doing things in 720p, much less 1080. Oh my goodness me. I tried to let my manager know, but she just smiled encouragingly, telling me to give it a try, assuring me if the videos were good, the quantity would not be what she focused on. Hearing this, I agreed to give it a try. My manager treated me well in the first month. However, one day when she found out I was a smoker, her attitude changed overnight. A colleague had actually done a facepalm when I told her about it, and she let me know that the manager hated smokers and often advocated to get them fired. She started nitpicking me on everything, from smelling like cigarette smoke after my breaks, coming in 5 to 10 minutes late despite doing more than 4 hours of overtime daily, not being contactable during break times, the list goes on. But I soldiered on because I just wanted to do the work and do it well. One thing I'm not actually sure about is how much is OP getting here, guys? They say that the pay was low, roughly $2,200 US. I presume that is per month. I mean, I hope it's per month. Ideally, it'd be per week, but yeah, if that's per year, well, okay, that's ridiculous. But even if it is that much per month, that is still way too low, surely. OP continues. 5 months in, I was called into the director's office, where I saw my manager putting on her best, displeased but gleeful face, and I felt my stomach drop. The director told me that she was disappointed because she had heard that I was falling behind on my work, and it was already halfway through the year, and I'd only completed 30 out of my 85 videos. I tried to explain that I'd been working my butt off on these videos. I literally worked 6 days out of the week, over 60 hours, just to do what needed to be done, and that being a one-man army made things impossible. And also, the fact that the views I'd put up grossed the highest views ever on their YouTube page. I also recounted how my manager said that she was looking for quality videos over quantity. The director, though, dismissed this and stated that the KPI was simply 85 videos in a year, and since it was almost half a year in, with my numbers at less than half, she felt it prudent to cut the cord early. I asked how would they even meet the KPI if they were to fire me now, and my manager had snorted, saying, "We'll find a professional production house to finish your work." The director had given her an odd look, but nodded in her support nonetheless, telling me, "You don't need to worry, your manager will get the job done." That was when a light bulb went off in my head. Seeing as I was the content professional in the office, one of my jobs was to keep a database of production houses to use in the event that we needed to do a shoot that required more resources. And I was sure that they would be using the production houses in my database, as my manager had no contacts in the production industry. So I changed the contact numbers and messed up all the emails on all of the entries except one. This one, I had a friend working as a junior director, not an assistant director, but a director assigned to smaller video projects. I gave him a call and told him of my plan, and sure enough, within 2 days, they were called to come in to pitch. I told him that I had a plan that was a win-win for us. It would instantly help him and put him on the fast track to a director position by bringing in that much business to his production house, and it would also benefit me financially. I would teach him exactly how to pitch to win over the boss and the director, and in turn, his company would pay me a standard finder's fee of 15%. He agreed instantly and immediately put me on the line with his general manager, who, upon realizing this was to be 6 months of work for a high 6-digit payout, instantly agreed and drew up a contract. Sorry, are you telling me that these guys were only willing to pay you $2,200 per month, but now willing to pay over, 6 digits, over $100,000 for the next 6 months? Insane. As it turns out, after I gave them a metaphorical step-by-step playbook, they were the perfect fit, somehow understanding the needs and style of the university, as well as the sort of themes the university wanted to feature. The director and my former boss were amazed that my friend's production house was so familiar with their content that they signed them on the spot. Now, even back then, using a production house was not cheap. Each video that they produced could cost double to triple my monthly salary, given that they had specialized people for each function. Producer, director, director of photography, gaffer, sound person, video editor, assistant director, production assistants, etc. But this meant that they could complete a video every 2 to 3 days. So yes, they produced 50 videos in a span of 4 months for over 100 months of my salary. And I sat back and collected the healthy 15%, which was about 15 months of my salary. This allowed me to put money aside for a holiday and the rest to further my studies with a respected film school overseas. Wow. Okay, so they're getting 100 months of OP's salary. That means that the university are paying them $220,000, over $220,000 to do this work when they were only paying OP $2,200 per month. That is crazy. OP continues, I thought my plan ended here and I'd gotten back at my former bosses. But to my surprise, I received a call from my colleague while I was holidaying in Bali one day. This was the same colleague who had facepalmed when I told her that my manager had found out that I was a smoker. She told me that my former manager had been fired and my director given a massive blasting by the chancellor of the uni. The content creation project which I was hired for was only given a budget equating to about 1.5 years of my salary, and they'd exceeded that budget by over 10 times. My former manager was so desperate to ensure that her content creation project could be completed that she'd thrown caution to the wind, paying anything to get the job done so that she could show my director that she had completed the project and had approved the massive spend without getting consent from the director. So that is how I got my friend a super fast promotion to a full director in his production house and 1 year of pay after getting unfairly fired from my job. That was phenomenal. Okay, that was a great story, and I can actually speak firsthand from my own experience here. When you are trying to make videos completely yourself, and now fortunately in this day and age, the channel's done well enough that I can have some other people help me. For example, I don't edit the videos anymore, all the episodes. Steve-O does that. A lot of you guys will know him. He's been with me for over 5 years now. Shout out Steve-O. But if you're doing it all on your own, it is so challenging. To be honest, I don't really know how I did it when I was doing it on my own. And my videos aren't even that, that taxing really, but filming it all yourself, narrating it all yourself, and then editing it, making it into a video, doing the thumbnail, like getting camera equipment, all that sort of stuff. It takes a lot of effort, and this is not like uni level sort of showing off the university, trying to get whatever the point of the channel was. Like, I'm just reading stories, and that was a lot of effort. But goodness me, I don't know how the uni thought you were able to do this, or were going to be able to do this on your own to that level. That quantity is insane. It's just like they just don't understand it. Like they've asked OP to be a full production studio on their own, using all their own equipment. It's ridiculous. And then they've just gone, actually, yeah, let's just spend loads of money and I think we'll get away with it because we might get some views. Like, if that's part of your actual strategy, fair enough if you want to, spend a lot of money, and I think it would probably be worth it. I think, to be honest, I was quite impressed at the start of this when you said that back in the early 2010s, a university was looking to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. That is great. I'd encourage every university to do that, and the majority, to be fair, do that now. But back in the early 2010s, that's forward thinking. So respect to them a little bit for that, genuinely, but not in the way they went about it. That is just awful. So bad, and they need to give their brains a wobble, and thankfully they're not in the role anymore. Good stuff, and congratulations for getting a great lump of severance and helping your mate out as well. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below which story you preferred. And do you think that both revenges were good? Could they have gone further? Were they too much? The first one especially. Is it fair to completely ruin that woman, the co-worker's chances of having a child? I personally think that based on what she did, it completely is. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts as always.